we have the privilege to have the head of blockchain from NASDAQ here. So this person is really amazing, has done a lot of blockchain development, knows a lot about blockchain, and he's also the FinTech Person of the Year. Did you know that? We have Johan, the head of blockchain from NASDAQ. Please welcome Johan, and we will learn all about how NASDAQ is working with blockchain. A big round of applause. Johan, welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Such a good audience, and what a great conference has been arranged. So very happy and pleased to be here and talk about my favorite subject. And of course, very proud that being nominated or actually been winning the award of the FinTech Person of the Year for an American magazine out there. So let's see. We'll share a little about who is NASDAQ, because maybe not all of you know all the secrets about what NASDAQ is actually doing and what we're up to. I think we're rather famous for being an exchange, but the other parts of NASDAQ is also really, really interesting. Also going to share a little about how we innovate at NASDAQ, how we collaborate and work with partners, and with the help of blockchain, see how we can improve the markets. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how we see blockchain can come into play. Not only on the cryptocurrency side, but also from a technology point of view. Because I think it's very important to separate the underlying technology and all the things this wonderful technology can do for all of us across industries, across the globe. So great to see so many here. Please come in front, take your seat. You don't need to stand behind. It's going to be a very, very long speech. So at NASDAQ, I think we're very famous to be an exchange, and we run more than 25 exchanges across the globe. And we also, what you might not know, is that we actually deliver technology to more than 90 exchanges across the globe, to Hong Kong, to Singapore, to Australia, to Bermuda Stock Exchange, etc. So really, really big software provider, IT provider of technologies that relates to how can we meet supply and demand in the most efficient way, and how can we make sure that the settlement, the transfer of ownerships is done in a transparent and secure way. So all of this, we also now bring with us into the blockchain space to see how could we use the blockchain technology in the best of ways. So I kind of decided to show this in three columns here. The first column is we for sure are looking and see how could we provide exchange technology, how could we provide marketplaces for digital currencies? And you might not know that you can already today actually trade certificates at the Nordic Exchange here in Stockholm that tracks the value of the Bitcoin, that tracks the value of ethers. So those are certificate tracker indexes that tracks the value of when the Bitcoin goes up or down. And we are, of course, also now closely monitoring the market to see when is the crypto markets ready to be kind of grasped together with the FSAs around the globe, to be regulated, to make sure that they have a decision of what a cryptocurrency is. And then, could we then also provide, of course, trading of those currencies on our exchange? We try to trade everything that is possible around the globe. And so also, I mean, heavily looking into see when do we feel safe that we can offer safe and robust markets to trade cryptocurrency the same way as other assets are traded today. The other part is that we're really also looking to see how could we improve our markets today with the help of this technology. How could we have more transparency? How could we share information more easily? How could we possibly disrupt, change business models with the help of this technology? So we do look into our own markets to see how that could be changed, and we also work with a lot of external global clients around the globe to see how could we use this technology to change the world of today. And the last part is also we have a lot of requests coming in now from current crypto-based exchanges markets that are looking for more proven, stable technologies. Because, I mean, as you all are aware, the hype around cryptocurrency has escalated enormously. It's a lot of trading going on, a lot of heavy volumes, and now exchanges that are out there are looking for more proven technology. And that's exactly where we are at NASDAQ. We deliver really good technology to do matching of a buyer and a seller and safely secure and settle that deal in our systems. So we deliver technology to crypto exchanges as well around the globe. And we also deliver surveillance solutions to make sure that you can also monitor that no one is misbehaving on the exchange, to get alerts if someone is trying to cheat the market, because we don't want that. We want to have fairness in the markets. So we also deliver surveillance technology to the crypto markets that you see today coming up. So these are kind of the three verticals that we are currently working on at NASDAQ. So hopefully more to come in each of these verticals. So at NASDAQ, we are several thousands of employees. We have 50 offices in 26 countries across the globe. So really a global company, office all around the globe. And then everybody asked me, but where is the blockchain force located then? Where are you guys that work at blockchain? And that's, of course, of interest for you. So I just did a very simple map of the world and to show you that we have blockchain teams well spread across the globe. On the west coast of US, on the east coast in New York, we have here in Stockholm, we have a very good team. We have a team in Vilnius, and we also have a team in Sydney, all focused on see how we can then improve and deliver technologies based on blockchain. So we're really there. We've been working with this for many, many years already. And with blockchain, I always say blockchain is the way to get us to the table. You can't be alone working on blockchain, then there is no need for blockchain. So it's very, very important to work with your peers, with your partners, with your customers, clients, and see how could we together do something better with the help of this technology. It really invites for collaboration. So for us, we have kind of developed a way for how to collaborate with our clients, our marketplaces. On top, you have the Citibank, for example, that we have had run a project with. You have the Swiss exchange in Switzerland. And SEB, I think I'm going to talk about more about that, our collaboration together with SEB on the mutual fund space, etc. So we work with our clients to see how can we together do something here. But that's not enough. We also need to work with research institutes to make sure we also get all the nice, interesting research that's going on in this space. With MIT Media Lab, with RISE, with IDEO CoLab, that facilitates very collaborative discussions. And we also make sure to invest in partners. We have a venture arm at NASDAQ which invests in companies that we believe has really the edge of various technologies. Because we want to already know now, today, understand what the markets will look like tomorrow. So for us, it's very, very important to collaborate. And then we have also launched our own framework, our technology then, that we can base all the blockchain development on. So now we can very, very easily hook up our matching engine into a blockchain network. We can very, very easily manage collaterals on a blockchain network. We can issue and settle securities in a blockchain world, if that is what the business case requires. So this is kind of the way we innovate at NASDAQ and how we collaborate with as many as possible. And I think it's a lot of discussions about disruption. That's really what everybody's talking about. How do you disrupt, or will the market be disrupted? And that's clearly what we are looking to as well at NASDAQ. I mean, to some extent, we are the central operator. We are someone that could be disrupted with this technology in certain markets. So we clearly looking to see, okay, what is then the future of the markets? And I think this is maybe a picture you've seen many times before. On the top left side, you have the central operator, and everybody needs to reconcile, log into the central operator, the central bank, the central securities depository, or any central database to see and make sure what is the status of my holdings? What is my ownership of something? And of course, could we then move on to the right-hand side into a more distributed world here without the need for this central operator? That's really a major question, I think, for many of us here and in many types of industries. Will I be disrupted, or could we improve the markets by the blockchain technology? The other part is also we have also other sides of the market that we call in the finance space the OTC side, over-the-counter trades, where you have bilateral, you have peer-to-peer communication going on with multiple parties, maybe hundreds of different parties talking to each other in a non-standard way. That costs a lot It's a lot of confusion, a lot of errors, a lot of risk associated with that, which increases the price to agree on something. That's also very, very interesting to see, okay, could we move that type of market onto a distributed and shared ledger? And I think we clearly see big opportunities on the lower left-hand side, where you currently don't have a standardized way to communicate. You don't have maybe trust in all the parties working together. And this less trusted world causes a lot of friction, a lot of cost out there. So we clearly see big, big opportunities for how to move the OTC bilateral markets onto a shared infrastructure. On the top left side, the central operator, we don't have the same huge problem as we see it. We see there is, to some extent, maybe sometimes necessary to have a central operator in place, because you already have a good trust. It's very, very efficient. Everybody communicates with one central operator. If something goes wrong, you know who to call. But we clearly see how we can also use the blockchain technology on the top left-hand side by improving maybe the communication, improve the transparency in those types of markets. Could I more efficiently share my records with my clients, with my members, trading on the exchange, for example? So we see clearly how blockchain can both disrupt markets as well as it can improve current markets. You don't necessarily need to change everything dramatically day one, but you can start to improve the markets, and then we'll see where we are in 5-10 years. And I think, as I said in the beginning, it's very, very important to understand that the blockchain is the technology, and it can be done in so many different ways. And we see many, many different ledgers, different examples, different types of solutions coming out based on the blockchain technology, based on the distributed ledger technology. And we have lightning networks, we have hash graphs, etc., that all come with variants for how you can start to have a shared and trusted network being set up, and also manage the throughput and performance. But I think what's common for everybody is that we're looking to have a shared database. It's probably based on a public-private key cryptography. You have some rules for maintaining transactions, and you have some kind of consensus mechanism. Then I think it's going to be dependent on your use case. You will need to choose, how would I like to configure my blockchain to support my business case? And I think we have seen a lot of hype, a lot of areas applied on the public space for public blockchain networks, where anyone is free to join, anyone can be part of the consensus algorithm, etc. We can also see it create some pains in complexity in how to approve transactions. And unfortunately, I think Bitcoin has been rather famous for consuming a lot of energy based on that complexity that you need to have in place, because you don't know who you can trust that joins in the network. And then there are other types of blockchains that we call permission blockchains or private ledgers, where you maybe are more like a closed group. Maybe we here at this conference could create our own blockchain network. We can set up our own rules, because maybe we don't want everybody to see everybody else's holdings of a specific transaction or a specific asset. So we can set up different types of consensus rules, different types of who is allowed to see what, who is allowed to issue something of value, issue a token, etc. So I think we're going to see hybrids and use cases are floating between public and private blockchains. And I think it's really important for everybody to think about, what are my business requirements, what I am looking to achieve, and how can I then best apply the blockchain technology for my specific use case. Everything might not be best done on a public blockchain. Everything might not be best done on a permission-controlled, secure, hidden blockchain. They have their pros and cons. And we have been working quite a lot on the private side, because that's where we see it's easiest for us to begin. We are a regulated exchange, so we need to live up to laws and regulations, and need to assure the FSA that we are doing things in a robust and sound way, and fairness in the market. So that's how we have started. But we clearly see how we pick innovations, ideas, etc., from the public space and embed and implement them into our worlds. So once again, I think it's back to the business use case you have. What do you want to do? How can I apply this wonderful technology in the best of ways? And I think I like this picture, because this shows an example of how it could look, or how it does look today in the financial space. And the idea is to show just how many intermediaries there are involved in a transaction today. You have a buyer on the left-hand side, you have a seller on the right-hand side, you have a marketplace, a clearinghouse, and a CSD in the middle, and then you have a lot of different actors intermediating these transactions. So quite a lot of institutions, people involved in making a transaction occur. You have to agree on a price, you have to clear it and make sure you remove the risk, and you have to settle the deal and make sure that you deliver according to what was agreed upon on the exchange. So the nirvana picture of, could we use blockchain? Could this be the future for our markets, where we more or less replace the need for many intermediaries? We primarily see blockchain being really good at keeping track of who owns what and transfer that ownership. We don't see blockchain as good in providing the capabilities of advanced marketplaces, creating a meet of supply and demand. You have many buyers, you have many sellers, you need to agree on a price. How do you do that? There's so many ways you can do it, and to distribute that, we don't think is good. You need to centralize the liquidity. Otherwise, you're going to get very high spreads, poor bid and ask pricing. You need to centralize, in a way, the supply and demand so that we all meet at the same square and make up the price. But once you have agreed on the deal, it can be safely settled with the help of the blockchain technology. And here, I show both the asset and cash ledgers. So the dream is, of course, could we have one blockchain? Could we have a network which both handles the share or the security or the token and also have the money part of the game in the same blockchain? Because then we can get the other really good benefit of the blockchain technology. It's not only good in transfer the holdings of ownership between buyer and seller, it's also really, really good to handle something that costs a lot of money today in our world. It's the delivery versus payment. The risk that I send you my shares, but you will not deliver the money. But if you think of it in blockchain, you can actually create one transaction between the parties. I say, I'm going to deliver you 10 shares, you will deliver me the 100 kronas or the 10 bitcoins. And then that will become one transaction, and either it goes through in the whole or not at all. So we can both be sure that you won't get my money unless I get your shares. So it's really, really good in exchanging assets in a secure way. And that's what marketplaces are about. You trade against something else. So don't forget that. It's really, really good advantage of the technology here, where we can then safely, risk-free guarantee the delivery versus payment. And looking on this from the finance perspective, where I live in, from the finance world, I think we have seen thousands of proof of concepts coming out where they claim, blockchain is the perfect technology to solve my business problem. I think we also unfortunately seen a lot of those concepts showing that, well, maybe blockchain wasn't the best one. It could be easier done through a standard traditional database. But for sure, some of them have survived the litmus test and saw that, actually blockchain could do something here for us. And they moved into more successful pilots, and you can start to see a couple of commercial applications coming up here. And I think now during this year, we're going to see several of those pilots that succeeded the POC, the proof of concept phase, moved into pilot, where you kind of were able to run a couple of transactions, now moving in production of various size. And then I think once they turn out to be good for the market, you're going to see a rapid scale in terms of businesses based on those use cases. So I think it's really here, and we are really, really getting something here. For sure, it's moved much faster on the public side, on the crypto market side, but from the finance perspective, this is my view of where we are today. So we're going to see a couple of production examples coming out this year, if not already. And if they turn out to be successful, we can see how they're going to be significantly scaling up. So what are we doing then at NASDAQ? So we have been working with this since 2013 already. So we have had multiple years already in experience proof of concepting, experimenting, piloting the technology. I think we're famous for being the first exchange to actually issue a company share on a blockchain ledger, on a distributed ledger. And we worked together with Citibank to also see what does it take to actually issue a US dollar onto the blockchain, a real US dollar onto this type of network. So we see that was possible. We could do that. So I think that was a really successful pilot for us and experimentation. Then we moved on into other examples, both for our own markets, looking to see how could we improve our markets, as well as we worked with external clients, just as I showed you before. So I think other examples are, for example, on the voting side. We see that you can not only use this technology to manage the ownership of shares, securities, or money, you can actually use this technology for any type of token. Very interesting. And then we saw we had a problem today for the general meetings. Corporates run annual general meetings, and on those meetings you do voting. And that process to perform voting during an annual general meeting is very costly. It's cumbersome, error-prone, and not so transparent. And also, I mean, how many of you have participated? I guess many of you own shares, but how many of you have actually participated in a general meeting? Just a few. So the idea here is, could we use the technology here to issue voting tickets? So you own 10 shares, you get 10 voting tickets, and then through the mobile phone, you can more or less cast the vote for or against the new board. That would be much more transparent, clear for everybody where we are, what's happening, and everybody could participate wherever you are in the world. So we did a successful pilot of this in Estonia, and we have now actually built a commercial solution around this, which we sold to a South African CSD. So they will be the first one to go live with this blockchain-based solution. I think that's really a milestone for us, where we see how we can now start to actually deliver products, commercial applications based on this, and hopefully then achieve a much more transparent, efficient market with the help of the technology. Also been working with the Swiss exchange I talked about for the OTC market, and we also have been working with, as we call them, non-financial industries. Industries that are looking for a good system to achieve the supply and demand and to settle them safely. So we're working with reinsurance business, we're working with advertising business, we work with shipping industries, etc., to see how could we help them to facilitate and create a much more transparent and good market. So Nayax, up on the top left-hand side, is a startup company in New York, where we help them to deliver a solution then to meet the supply and demand for advertisement contracts, and then safely settle them in the blockchain solution. Everything run in the cloud and settled directly on the blockchain solution. So I think that's also proof for how we now see that blockchain is not only for the financial world, it's clearly for everybody across industries. As I guess many of you already know, but for us it's very interesting too to see how we can now start to deliver technology outside of the financial space. And I think the greatest example is, of course, the one we're running here in the Nordics, for where blockchain could really come into play. So I'm very, very proud to be able to present this to you today. How we have collaborated together with SEB and now moved into the second phase, where we see, could we improve the mutual funds market in the Nordics with the help of blockchain technology? Many of you own funds, don't you, for retirement purposes, or you believe that's an easier way maybe to do savings. And maybe all of you know how many days it takes to receive the funds. You have to pay up front, and then you have to wait 5-10 days to receive it. I think you also all seen that there are quite some high costs associated with transactions for managing these funds. So it's clearly an old process, many intermediaries involved in making this happening today. So we see, could we, together here with the fund industry, create a shared and trusted infrastructure with the help of the blockchain technology? So the goal here is really, could we have one shared infrastructure, jointly owned? There shouldn't be one single company owning the solution. It should be jointly governed and owned by the industry to make sure that everybody wants to participate. And could we then achieve that there is no discussion anymore about whether the order has arrived at the fund company? Has the distributor been able to send off the order before the cutoff time, etc.? Could we as well then make sure that we manage the payment process just as smooth as the management of the fund units through the help of the technology? I mean, achieving this delivery versus payment, which once again is a very, very interesting subject. And then the last point is very much into, this is also a way, of course, to start to standardize how things are done in the funds industry. How do we communicate with one another? Could we have one golden record of what funds are available, what are the information about that specific fund, and what is the holdings registrar containing of, who owns which fund, so that you, as a fund owner, can be sure that you actually have that amount of shares on your account. So I think this is looking very, very interesting. So working together with the fund industries to see then, could we set up a jointly and shared network with the help of blockchain technology? And it's the strategy here, part of also how we decide to move and work with innovation, is that we start with a proof of concept, as I discussed in the beginning. Maybe you shouldn't be too many in that proof of concept. You work with well-chosen partners and establish and show that, yes, it could actually be done in a better way with the help of blockchain technology. So we did that together with SEB, and during 2017, we analyzed the market, and we saw there's a big potential to change, and there's big demand for change as well. So we developed a proof of concept together with SEB, where we clearly could show then that how it could be done on the blockchain technology. We went up for a breakfast seminar in February and invited the whole fund industry and said, you're welcome. Who of you would like to participate together with us to move into the next phase then, to define the initial business scope, to define the rules, the regulatory framework that we need to support, as well as what will the solution look like from a IT point of view, but what will also the solution look like from a consortium point of view. So now we are 7 companies working together to see then how we could change the mutual funds industry. So, and we believe that if we can agree on a scope for this solution that we are prepared to invest in, we of course hope that we can move into the third phase of this, where we invite the rest of the industry to participate in this. Because the aim here is that we should gather everybody in the fund industry and work together on this. But we don't want to be too many in these phase 2 discussions, because we believe that's going to take more time than value, than value it's given. So we are at the moment running very, very focused working streams together, where we then look into what should the function scope be? What should the consortium look like? We need to set up a commercial network together. How can we do it a non-profit network in the best of ways? How can we make it attractive for everybody to join into this shared network? And from a non-functional perspective also, what would it look like? How should it be hosted, run, operated? What type of technology should we choose? And we also have a legal stream to make sure that we continue to comply with those laws and regulations that are out there today for the fund industry. And then the 5th stream is a promotion stream, because we also want to make sure that we share our learnings with the rest of the industry, with the reference group that are part of this as well, to share the outcome, because in the end, once again, we want everybody to join here. So I really hope this could be something fantastic for the funds industry in the future. So keep tuned, stay tuned, and see where we are. Hopefully we can come up with some messaging around this after summer or so, what the decision is to go ahead here. But I think this truly shows a nice way for how we collaborate with peers, partners, clients, sit around the table together and discuss how could we, through the help of blockchain, change the world here. So clearly, blockchain is here to stay. We clearly see how blockchain will change the markets. It will dramatically change some markets. It might not be as good for some types of markets. It might improve other markets. It's not the silver bullet to everything. It's very, very important to remember. It's much more complicated to do it in a distributed way. So you really have to look for the good use cases. Why do I need decentralization? Why do I currently have pain points? Where do I have maybe less trust in my market? Could I improve the trust with the help of blockchain technology? But we clearly see a lot of markets where this is a really good technology to come into play. And clearly, I think we've been working a lot with this. I think we're getting more and more famous for being the pioneers in this space. We've been working with this a long time. We're already in production using this technology, and we're really, really scouting out there to see what will the market looks like tomorrow with the help of this technology. And I think we also see that through this technology, we have a really good networking effect. We have more than 100 markets running on the same technology. So how could we create a network effect as well? Because it's really, how could we come together with the help of this technology? So it's also something we really see how we can play to all of our hands here. So that was more or less the slides for me. Thank you very much for the session.